Do you ever think of
She
that?
is.
Yeah, but what if I wasn't?
Come here. Come here. Oh, no, come here. This fast. Oh, there you go.
Hi, pup.
Look at the camera.
No,
No, I don't like this.
I could be unwell.
There's your puppy.
There you go.
I
No,
forgot
you're fine.
to add to my game spending list. So I'm going to do that right now.
Oh,
Game spending list.
Hello, Internet.
Yes. Hi, Internet.
How's everyone doing? We're all riding the struggle bus today.
Reach sister. What's the RRP on that? $14.99. Okay. That's not bad, actually.
Man, my kid is too funny. She keeps, like, busting into the dining room and be like, Daddy, how's the tall neck going? And I show her, and I'm like, do you want to help? She goes, nah. It's like, okay, that's fine. And I keep telling her, like, you know, this isn't a toy. Like, when it's done, it goes up into my office, and it sits there for me to admire. And she goes, I know. It's like, hey, I'm the one putting 1,200 pieces together. Oh, I'm not for that price, Jesus. God.
So, you know how you can do custom builds and stuff like that? And there's like guides and sheets and stuff of here's all the parts you'll need to build it kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's an app that you can take a picture of like a dump truck of Legos, and it's like, here, this is what you can build with it.
We use that all the time. It's super cool. It's like, oh, you can build a parrot out of these random dumb pieces you have. It's like, yeah, man, that's cool. What is it? I don't remember what it's called. Brick? Something.
You guys need to text me that or something because I need to know that shit.
Let me look it up. I think I still have it installed.
I thought it was like Brick Builder or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, it's very cool because all you do is you just lay on a flat surface. You lay all of the pieces you have, or however many you want to dump on the floor, in like one layer. You take a picture of it off from like straight above, and it just and it comes up with like 15, 20, 30 different options for you to build.
Do they have to be like base down, or can they just be like laid on the sides?
You just put them however you want.
Interesting.
There are a lot more Lego apps since the last time I've looked at Lego apps.
Yeah, it's not Brickit. Brick IT, all one word.
Okay, I don't have a notepad with me, so someone please text that to me.
This blue icon, or this orange icon like that.
Okay.
It's got
Boston, do me a favor.
It's got a beta
I'm screenshotting and texting you.
There you go.
Perfect. Thank you.
I believe it's on Android as well.
Yeah, it is. I just looked.
Okay, cool.
So there were like shit like that tickles me, but one of the things that I found was, as you may or may not be aware, I am a giant Mad Max fan. I've discussed this plenty of times on the podcast. Mad Max Minute, the podcast, the guy who runs it, he does it with his partner. I think they might be husband and wife at this point. But for his birthday gift one year, she got him, I think, the full set of requirements to build an RC Interceptor from Lego. It was either Lego or Duplo, one of the two. I don't know, whatever it is. Right. So I looked into it. I was like, this is cool as hell. I would love to do this. It's like $900 to get the full thing. And I was like, that's great. I want to go back to England before I do this.
Yeah. Gosh.
Because you've also got to get like the motors, you've got to get the RC adapters, you've got to get the controller.
Oh, sure. So it's not just the Legos, it's like all the moving pieces. Right.
But it looks sick as shit, dude.
I bet.
And it was like, fuck me, that would be hell cool to like put together. But if I'm gonna spend $900, it's a fucking flight back to England.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
or a Super Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
Dude, so I bought my wife a bunch of Legos as well for Mother's Day, and of course they're not in yet because they're understaffed, so it's taking longer. But they had a Star Destroyer for $7.99,
Oh, nice.
And it was difficult not to pull the trigger on that.
Yeah.
But my wife knows that there's this ongoing thing from years ago that if I ever come across another Super Star Destroyer, I am buying it sight unseen.
Right. It's like your version of the Lego Hall Pass, where it's like, look, if I see this in the flesh, it's just gonna happen.
Yep. And we will probably regret it later, but my wife also wants to build it, but she keeps saying, she's like, well, we don't have any place for it. It was like, the fuck we don't? We have a dining room table right there.
That's right. It's a centerpiece.
Shit like that, you will find a place.
I was going to say, because I think that thing is, I think it's like 4 feet long or something like that. I mean, it's massive, but it's always been a dream of mine since they originally released that thing to buy one of those.
Yeah, how long?
Dude, the fucking AT-80 is fucking $800.
I have the AT-80.
3,152 pieces. It is 50 inches long and weighs 8 pounds.
Yeah, it does.
I feel like you could probably just put like a piece of glass on the top of that, and that's your new dining room table. You got to be creative about it.
Or you could do that whole thing and get like a chunk of wood with a slot missing out of it, and then just resin it in there. So build it, put it in the middle, resin over the top, and then there you go.
It's always been the funniest thing to me that not only does it come with a plaque, it also comes with a super tiny mini kit Star Destroyer for size.
That's great. Yeah, when I was buying the tall neck, they're like, hey, other things you might be interested in, because I bought it from the Lego store. They're like, do you want the Lego Millennium Falcon? And I was like, I really do, but I feel like that is like a multi-month investment. Let's start on a smaller one that's a little over a foot tall first.
Yeah, the AT-AT and the Millennium Falcon are the two biggest ones that I currently have. And that Millennium Falcon, when I have it together, is a beast.
Yeah.
It is heavy.
Yeah.
So I kind of have to show you guys this. This is why I thought of that, putting it in resin at the table, because this fucking table is so fucking cool.
Whoops.
This is going to make me jealous.
I want this table so fucking bad, dude. Like, I'm not going to lie.
Oh my.
Like,
let me put this on screen.
Ridiculously cool, some of these designs.
Man.
Like, it's
the trench run table.
The shit people are doing is so fucking good.
That's at backyardresin.com.
I was gonna say, for only $1,499.
Current lead time is 14 weeks. Oof. Although it looks like they're making it one by one, so
yeah, handcrafted, custom made tables. So
man, that's cool.
But tell me that's not sick as shit though.
That is very cool. Actually, they have a lot of really cool tables. They have a cool standing desk that's in kind of the same style.
Yeah, and they've got a bunch of cutting boards, fucking...
Oh, man. Do they have a Han Solo cutting board?
Carbonite one? That would be really fucking great.
They will soon. Oh, man. Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Alright, starting in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of That Video Game Podcast. I'm your host, Boston, and joining me as always is Moonpier.
Howdy.
And the Nimp.
Just dreaming about a carbonite cutting board.
That's right. Normal, totally cool things that we're dreaming about. I'm also dreaming about more patrons over at patreon.com/E1M1.
The ones and numbers, I hate you, Boston.
I know. I got them. When I get them, I get them. You can get all the cool exclusive behind-the-scenes early access stuff. The recommended tier over there is the $5 a month tier. Again, not per episode, just per month. You can get access to 1,200 episodes over there for just $5 a month, including... I know, it's too much. You can get access to the exclusive and uncensored Outcast, which is the stuff we kind of talk about before we go live, and sort of the stuff as we're warming up to do the show, including stuff in between segments and the titles, because you can't skip out on the titles. That's the good. That's where we talk about the food. That's the good stuff. You also get early access to We Roguelike at the show, where Moon and I are playing too many roguelikes all one a month, and we're up to like 450 something. Too many.
It's got so bad that I can't see the title of the show in my recording list here. I can't see the number. That's how bad it's gotten.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. And yet early access to Critical Misses, a show where Moon and I are catching up all the media hits we missed, revisiting an older movie during season 14 we're doing right now. So I think season 13's production meeting is going up here I think it's this week on the 10th, I believe. So if you're
here's the fun part. We can actually probably say, yeah, we're doing a movie that's almost 30 years old.
That's right.
And everyone will jump to, it's like John Carpenter's The Thing. It's like,
that's right.
That's much older than you think.
That's 50 years old, yeah. If you're at the $5 tier or higher, you can get the Critical Misses production meeting, where Moon and I kind of, it's a more casual episode than kind of we normally put out, where we're talking about how the show's going, what we're planning for future seasons, what we're deciding for the next season. So that should be coming out, I believe, this week. That is a Patreon exclusive. So if you want all that stuff, too much stuff, sign up at patreon.com/E1M1.
Ones and numbers, I guess. I don't know.
All right, Moon, what have you been playing this past week?
So life finds a way to destroy any time I have. So I only have two things to talk about this week.
Okay.
First and foremost, we're going to talk about the longer discussion, which is Lego Star Wars, of course. We have to talk about Lego Star Wars. It's an ongoing theme in our regular shows, pre-shows, and personal lives is Lego, apparently.
Right. The weekly Lego Star Wars checkup.
So I beat all of the regular campaigns.
Nice.
And I'm now bumping into different systems, doing the missions on that system, and then moving to a different system. I've made so much progress that I have literally done one planet. That's what I've done.
Okay.
That's all I've done.
There's and some planets are bigger than others, but some are smaller, and it's kind of nice. I went through this week and I got 100% on all 5 story missions in episode 1. I only had to play one of them twice because I kind of didn't understand what it was asking me to do. I'm not the world's biggest Star Wars fan, so when it's like, oh, you need to make sure you destroy all these AS-1 troop carrier things, and I'm like, what? Bro, I don't...
You're such a rookie.
Can you put a picture here for me? If they don't say Roger, Roger, I don't know what they are. So I did have to Google that. But I'm also pretty happy with the rumor system in those levels, too. Because except for, I think, 2 of them, most of them were kind of obvious. And I bought 2 of the rumors where it's like, here's kind of a hint, and then here's just the answer. Which is great. I like it. Thanks for helping me and keeping me from a dubstep intro to YouTube video.
Yes, please. Thank you. No more of that, because, oh boy. One thing I will say is, have you tried the new collectible detector?
Yeah, with the blue circles,
blue force things.
Yes.
I really like it.
I especially like that you can see them from any distance away, so you can kind of pan the camera around a level, and you're like, okay, there's like 15 circles over that way. I should just start going that way and see what I get into.
I really like the fact that you can see them through the walls, as always. And all of the previous Lego games, the detector was just a big white solid block arrow that just pointed down. It was so annoying.
Yep.
Because you'd start a level and it would be like, look at all of these arrows, and it's just like, come on, like.
Yeah, like what
please.
am I supposed to be doing? I'm
Uh-huh.
not sure.
It's very
Mhm.
annoying.
Yeah, this one's
But
way
I
better.
really, I do like the new detector is fantastic.
Yep.
I think it's worth mentioning again how, because I am a Star Wars fan. There's hundreds of people in these games that I don't know or care about.
Oh, for sure.
But I will say that I love the amount of little touches of detail they give to everybody.
Mm.
I'm using old Luke now from the
7 and 8.
sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
And his lines are hilarious when you're
Yes.
using him in free play mode. Every time you get a kyber brick, he's like, "Oh, it's the ancient Jedi." No, they're just one of these things again. Oh well.
It's great.
And he complains about not having enough milk and so on and so forth.
Real
It's
good.
hilarious. I love old Luke. But the reason why the little touches came into my mind is because I've also been playing a lot as Rey.
Yes, I do too.
And Rey's sprinting animation is a chef's kiss moment of thank you for paying just the right level of detail.
Mm-hmm.
Because she has that head forward, chin up, still head thing, leaning forward sprint animation.
Mm-hmm.
That is the exact animation from episode 7 when she's running towards Finn with her like spear thing out when she thinks that Finn has BB points her towards Finn because Finn's wearing Poe's jacket. It's
Right.
that sprinting animation. And the Lego version of Rey has that down to a T, and I'm just like, you could color this Lego person blue, and I would know that is Rey
right.
sprinting because it's just so distinctive, like look based on how she does it in the movies, and it's just like okay.
When she picks up a kyber brick too, she says, "This will catch a fair few portions." It's like, yes, great, I like it.
And when you're in a zone with one of her abilities, she's like, "Well, I guess hanging around junk all day has been really helpful in this situation." It's it's little touches, and I'm literally only doing it with like 6 characters. It's like, how many people have you done this for?
That's right. How many hundreds of characters have lines like this?
Like, what does Hook say? Like, I'd like to know what Hook says about stuff because he's one of the best under then over then underacted people in the entire movies. Like he is ridiculous. Like let me see all of that stuff. I'm not going to because I'm not interested in switching characters every 4 seconds. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, it's the little touches. They're just so great, and it just reconfirms my love for all things like Lego video games. At least from Traveler's Tales, I should say, because I know we're going to get like 50 million of them soon.
I guess that's like the positive and the negative. I'm sure we're going to get some other kind of incredible stuff from some other studios, but I hope that means that Traveler's Tales still gets to do the thing that they're really good at.
Yeah, and you know it's fun, it's stupid, it's whatever.
Yep.
I like the Lego Star Wars games a lot. Well, the Lego video games in general a lot. And well worth your time. I paid full price for this. I don't do that normally. That should tell you how much I like, Lego games.
I pre-ordered this one. Like I historically don't do that much anymore.
I did too, and I took a flight wink to New Zealand flight wink to play it wink.
I hear it's very nice. The porgs are just out. It's beautiful this time of year.
Yeah. It was great because it was like, I don't have much time this week. I need to play this today. It comes out tomorrow. I'm just going to fly to New
quick
Zealand.
International flight. Yeah.
Wait.
Let's see, the DLC packs, all of them are out now too, as of this past week.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So, yeah, my son didn't either. I just happened to come across it looking at the game, and he was like, "Oh, hey, did you download these?" He's like, "Nope, didn't know they were out yet."
Yes.
So, and then
just runs away.
Well, and then like 2 minutes later, I get a PlayStation email saying, "Thank you for your download."
Right. Oh man, I'll have to go check those out.
Of course. But yeah, it's Lego Star Wars. It's fun. It's stupid. Whatever.
It's great.
Play it. Don't play it.
Yep.
You know if you like it. You know if you hate it. You do you.
Yeah, it's not revolutionary this time. Where it's like, oh man, the cover they do have cover mechanics in this one. I can't even use that joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go on. What else are you gonna do?
The first person executions are
The way
dirty.
they stick to the wall. Oh.
That's right.
They do that too.
Yeah. This one's really good.
Mm-hmm. But yes, Lego Star Wars is great. You should play it. My final game this week, and it's only a little quick one. I hate myself for this
Okay.
so much. I don't actually know if I want to do the joke, but I'm gonna do the joke. Na 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 na. It's the mother flipping DRG. That's right. Deep Rock Galactic is back, folks.
I'm canceling this show.
Thank you. It's exactly the reaction that I wanted
Yeah.
when I thought of
I
that
could
joke.
feel this level of hatred.
Hatred?
That's right. Loathing.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That mission has been accomplished. So I was hanging around with my boy Rob. And we were trying to figure out what we wanted to play since Rob doesn't play Destiny and he's a big loser for not playing Destiny. I'm just saying,
is.
Rob, you're a loser.
That's right.
So we were sitting there. We both had rough weeks. We were just chit chatting, figuring out if we wanted to play anything. Extraction wasn't pulling to us. We didn't want to spend an hour and a half in a different mission, different game's missions. Can't even remember what that game was. But we were chit chatting, and Deep Rock Galactic had another update again because, of course, why not? That
Good
thing
on them.
keeps getting updated. So it's got a new cover screen.
Ah.
And I was like, you know what? Let's just give it a shot. We both loved it when we played it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump in, see how badly things have changed.
Is it still on Game Pass?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know I bought it when it came out.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember if it left.
I know it was on Game Pass. I just
Yeah,
still is.
like I feel like that's when the majority of people picked it up, was just everybody saying like, "Hey, this thing is on Game Pass, and you really need to get it."
It is. It's still on Game Pass right now.
Okay.
All right, so we were like, screw it, let's load her up. So we both hit the A button to load up the game, and in the background, my Xbox is doing 26 updates to games because why not?
Sure.
And then it's like Rob starts reading the instruction stuff, like about what's new, like the
patch
updates.
notes overview.
Welcome back, patch notes.
Right.
Yeah, he's like reading that stuff. Why? I'm still loading. How are you reading that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I went into my menus and checked where it was installed, and it was installed to my external drive.
Mm.
Because it's not an XS upgraded one, and I probably moved it there when it fell out of playing rotation.
Sure.
So my response to this was, this is unacceptable.
This will not stand.
So I quit the game.
Uh,
I managed the game, and I moved it to my internal drive. Because I forgot that Deep Rock Galactic is 3 gigs.
That's it?
That's it. It's 3 gigs, dude.
That's wild. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Compression.
So I moved it into my internal. And in the amount of time it would have taken me to load the game, I quit the game, moved it to my internal, loaded the game, and got into the menus before it would have loaded originally.
Right.
And that's when we realized that we haven't played this game since the Series X came out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we used to have to wait a long time for the load times in this game.
Ah, I see.
Not no more, because it's like less than 3 seconds, and it's just like, congratulations, you loaded. Congratulations, you're in the game. Oh, the mission's done. Okay, loading screen, done.
Right.
There you go. I was like, oh no. Oh no.
SSDs.
Yeah, and also Deep Rock Galactic is still really good. Like, stupid, dumb fun with dwarves who drink and mining, and now there's 5 new updates since we last played it, and there's rivals and giant machines that you need to fight off, and there's a season pass now.
I was gonna say, there's season passes.
Oh, jeez.
Which is fine. I'm not putting any money into the season pass thing. Thank you very much. I paid $30 for you in early access. I'm good without the season pass stuff. But
yeah.
Oh crap! I might be playing Deep Rock Galactic more.
It's pulling me back in. I'm in trouble.
It's a really good game.
Yeah.
Like, it is stupid how good that game is. Like, it's the quintessential. If you're playing it by yourself, it's fine as a podcast game. You can just listen to a podcast and play it. But if you're playing it with a bunch of friends, you can literally just have a chit chat about anything and play the game. And as long as I love you, Justin, as long as you're not trying to guide Justin to find where people are, like, you know, it's very much an autopilot kind of game at
Those
the difficulty you're
caves
playing it at.
get really dark.
Mm.
They do.
Sometimes it's a pain to find things.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I hear you, Justin, defense, and that's fine, and I can appreciate that. But the difference is Justin will lose you when you're standing behind him.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Hey, playing with my son way back when, sometimes I would just lose him just going into the pause menu and coming back out. And be like,
Right.
where did you go? And he's like, oh, I'm 8 kilometers below you now. And it's like, how?
Right. But how did you?
It was only 2 seconds.
I was just looking, and I forgot this was on PS Plus in January of this year too.
Yep.
So
Interesting.
you
I wonder if
probably
it's
own it on
crossplay.
something already.
DRG crossplay ? Let's find out. Oh, it does support cross-platform play.
Hey, there you go.
Oh.
It's on something you own. Although I don't think there's a Switch version yet, but give them another year, it probably will be.
I haven't heard of one, but
Yeah.
but it's on PC.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay. So apparently it's crossplay between the same generation, same brands of things. Windows Store, Xbox Game Pass.
Sure.
Not between Steam and Game Pass and PlayStation.
Gotcha.
So PS3 and 4 can play with each other, but they can't play with anyone else right now. From what I can tell, I'd need to look into it more.
That seems
And-
fair too. They're a small team, so
And according to a Washington Post article from February 7th of this year, they are not releasing a Switch version because they would have to make, quote, an almost completely different game for it to run on the Switch. End
that's
quote.
fair.
So
That's fair.
they're waiting.
Astroneer came out, so you know I feel like there's still a chance.
Yeah, that's true. I'm
Yeah.
surprised that's when it was on the Switch.
Yeah.
It tells you everything good they've done to that game's engine over the past couple of years.
Yes.
But you know, I hate how much I like this. Like, sometimes you just need that stupid brainless game where you don't have to think about anything. And it just so happens I'm playing 2 of them right now in Lego as well.
Yeah.
But, however, don't feel stupid if you can't figure something out in Lego. Those games are ridiculously under-designed for people who have been playing video games for as long as we have.
Mhm.
The
Just
reason
buy
I
the rumor.
specifically mentioned this is because 17 times I got stuck on the same level in Lego Batman 2, where you ended up having to get the sucker outfit, where you suck up fluids with your feet and then you spray it on something. I didn't understand that mechanic because it didn't explain it to me, or I skipped the help text and I got stuck on the same level for weeks.
Right.
All you literally had to do was stand in a puddle.
Are they under-designed, or is it just because we've played video games for so long we are completely overthinking the simplicity of that puzzle?
Yeah.
Because there have been times that has happened to me where I'm like, that shouldn't work, and then I do it. I'm like, oh, I guess it does work.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
that was it. Okay.
Most of the times, it's smash everything. But on the rare occasion it's not, it can be really frustrating.
Yeah.
But you know, it was one of those things where like we were playing DRG and it's like, oh, and they've got weekly assignments and they've got new DLC assignments and they've got a prestige system for each of your dwarf types that you can use and upgrades for the suits and the guns and everything. And oh no, save me, please.
Too many bars. It's my weakness.
Dude, if you want some bars, DRG has got bars for days.
Oh no.
Like,
I think that's why I haven't started playing it yet.
It's so may I recommend that you just, you know, it's
fire up the old
3
Series
gigs.
X. It's 3 gigs.
It's 3 gigs.
Yeah.
Give
Don't
it a
worry,
shot.
my Series X is never more than half full anyway, so I have more than enough space.
I'm aware. That's why I'm saying just, you know, give it a shot, see how you feel, and then maybe, you know, maybe we can all have some dwarfing fun.
Yeah, first dwarf is free.
Yeah. The first beard is free, dude. We'll even buy you beers. How'd you like that?
There you go. Now you're selling me.
And you can toast and then drink them and then go on a mining expedition with us and enjoy how horrifically dark it gets.
Yeah.
And then spend too long trying to kick a barrel through a hoop that doesn't matter for anything.
Yeah. Then there's that. And then anytime you see a submission involving collecting fossils, you say, nope, I am not doing that. And then you move on to the next one. Yeah, that's all I've been playing. It's great. DRG. Rock and stone, baby.
Nymph, what do you have?
I also had a fairly short week. So I played more Elden Ring after the podcast and still was having issues with the fire giant. And then Monday played more Elden Ring and was still having issues to the fire giant to the point that my wife was sitting next to me on the floor enjoying me yelling at the TV because I haven't done that in a very long time.
Right. A From Software game will just bring that right at you.
Yeah. To the point of me yelling, this is a garbage game for garbage people. And my wife was like, I thought you really liked this. And I'm like, I am part of the problem.
Don't you turn that around on me.
From Software fans are nothing if not either very self-aware or ridiculously under self-aware.
Yeah.
Good hell, Miyazaki.
So I discovered that the fire giant does not have immunity or resistance to rot. And rot is basically a form of poison, basically.
Okay.
I was expecting you to say fire, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and it'd be like, wait a minute, hold on.
I can't tell you how many times I still call this thing a fire troll. This is the D&D DM in me. Anyway,
and the fire giant is like, excuse me, sir. That is so rude.
So, when I ended up figuring this thing out about the rot, I was like, all right, cool. This boss fight has 2 phases, so I can inflict rot on it, bring it down to half health, force it into its second phase, and then I can inflict it again, and then just kind of run away from it and let its life bar go away.
Yeah.
Great plan in theory. The first time I pulled it off, I ran straight off of a cliff, which was when I was yelling about this as a garbage game for garbage people.
Right.
And then it took me a couple more times to be able to finally get to that point, and then I did finally kill him.
Hey, nice.
So it took a little bit. My biggest issue with the boss is that for as big as it is, it moves too fast and covers too much ground.
Yeah.
But whatever, I beat it. Screw this game.
Finally, free. Screw this game, I'll see you tomorrow.
So I am now in the last area of the game.
Oh, nice.
And I'm only like 3 graces in, and that's when I was just like, all right, I'm giving this game just another short break because I'm too hot and heavy. Can't deal with it. So I will come back to that later on this week. But the main reason I stopped playing it was because on Game Pass, Trek to Yomi came out.
Oh, right.
This is the side-scrolling black and white samurai game.
Right.
I enjoyed it, but the combat doesn't feel that great.
Yeah, that's what it seems like that's how everybody's been feeling.
Yeah, the counter. So just hitting the buttons in general, whether you're attacking or countering, you don't have like that feedback either with the character on screen or with the rumble of did I do the time sequence right? So then you're trying to hit it again, and then you're overdoing it, or you're underdoing it, or your attacks just aren't connecting, and it's kind of just a pain.
Yeah.
Outside of that, though, it's a really cool game. It's also really short. It's only about, I think I beat it in 5.5 hours.
Okay. It's not bad.
So it's not that long. So you don't really have to deal with the combat for that long. You do start getting other weapons, like you get a bow, you get a gun, like an old-timey flint gun. So there's some other things that you can use, but yeah, the combat is just like the biggest hang-up. If this game was like a 20-hour game, I probably would have stopped playing it because of the combat, honestly.
Yeah.
Which sucks because, like I said, it looks really cool. The story seems really cool, or was really cool, but it's just that combat, man. But anyway, if you're interested in it, like I said, just throw it on easy, play it, and then determine if you want to throw it on hard for the challenge.
Yeah.
But that's it for that game. My last game that I played, because it was a short week for me. I played some Citizen Sleeper.
Oh man, I thought I was gonna be the only one talking about this one.
I wanted to play both of these games like you would not believe this
Okay,
weekend. I was just like,
I already have a Citizen Sleeper video queued up because
Ready to go.
part of the thing that people need to do is see this game, because that is, if you want a game that has style, that's Citizen Sleeper.
So I've been keeping an eye on this because everyone kept saying that it's like, oh, it's a good tabletop kind of game.
Yep.
All right, cool. Downloaded it, played it yesterday, and for a good couple of hours just sat there and played it.
Welcome to my week, where I'm just like, maybe I'll just do it very much this. I talked about Tharsis last week, which is a game that's very similar to this one from sort of a gameplay standpoint, where you start your day and you have X number of dice that have already been rolled for you, and you kind of have two other meters. One is kind of your overall status, how well your body is doing, and then
condition.
You have energy. Yes, condition. Thank you. And then you have your energy, which is essentially, if you go to sleep with your energy full, you're more likely to get 5 dice the next day. So the things you're going to go do in the world, your success for those actions, the outcome is determined by which dice you feed it. So if you feed something, the game does a really great job. If you feed something like a 6, it's almost guaranteed to go 100% positively your way. If you feed it, say, like a 3 or a 4, 50% good, 50% bad, or like 50% neutral or 50% bad. You feed it a 1, it's going to be like 25% neutral.
25 neutral, 50, 75% bad.
Yeah.
And there's also your stats too, which can also help dictate with the dice, where if it's a job that requires like the input skill, if you've got a 1 in your input, because you're not doing like massive stat changes with this. This is like very little onesie twosies kinds of things. If you have a point in input, that's going to be a +1 to that die.
Right.
So if you put a 5 in there, that's going to turn it into a 6. Or if you have a negative in input and you put a 5 in there, it's going to turn it into a 4. Right. So you kind of have to pay attention to that as well. Yeah,
and that's the stuff I was talking about. I talked about this a lot on Pup yesterday. These are the tabletop RPG things that I like. I don't want to do like a character sheet and have a DM and have like, here's the story. Like this is the stuff that I really want. This is the stuff that I liked out of Hand of Fate 2, where it's like, here's a little campaign and here's your kind of RPG stuff. But I really like how all the systems interact with each other on this. I really like the system, the spaceship you're in. It's kind of this giant ring space station that you're kind of going back and forth. Also, only made by one person, by the way, except for the music. I don't know how he managed to do all of this. And it has incredible writing. If you wanted to get if you like the writing in this game, you might want to check out visual novels. Because this game is really, I'm not going to spoil it because I've seen most of the game's endings by this point. But you wake up having escaped, and you're what they call a sleeper. You're essentially
I was expecting you to say amnesia, I'm not going to lie.
No, well, you have amnesia for a good reason. Because
but that's not the main focus of what you are.
That's not really the focus. You are a digital copy of someone's consciousness who is in cryosleep. And you're a copy because, number one, sentient AI has been outlawed. And number two, they're going to go to sleep and go somewhere else. And you are going to work to pay off their debt. And the reason why you've escaped is because largely that sucks. But very quickly you find out that the corporation that made you was designed you with planned obsolescence in mind. So you have to get regular injections to stop your body from breaking down, which is where that top condition bar comes in. Like if you don't find a source for medicine and keep that source flowing, your body breaks down and you get less dice, you get less advantages, your character does worse and worse.
Yep.
It's not like a survival game. Pretty quickly you find a source for that stuff and you learn how to balance.
But at the beginning it's kind of rough.
It's very expensive at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually just got the discount for that medicine.
Nice.
But so when you start out, the only thing you have to focus on is you have to find food.
Yeah.
Which means you have to find a job so that you can get credits so that you can pay for food.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ramps up. It's like, okay, now that you've got a job to make credits to get you food, now you have to start worrying about the medicine. So now I need to start taking on more jobs. And this is all with like the 6 or 5 dice that we have. Mm-hmm. I have to take on more jobs to make more money so I can pay for food and medicine. And then this other thing happens with a person. So now I have to pay for food, medicine, and whatever's going on with this guy who I just took care of and is right now not an issue, but seems like they may become an issue again.
Yeah. So, and I was really worried it would be like Papers, Please, where like you can't balance all of this stuff and something has to lose. But pretty quickly you find a way to make that stuff balance out in a way that I feel like the biggest problem I had with Tharsis was that the game wanted to kill you. Like it was really trying to make you lose a run. And the thing I love about Citizen Sleeper is it wants you to see the story. So it's not trying to kill you. If you really mess up like a bunch of days in a row, it will probably kill you, but you sort of have to try outside of the first couple of days. Also, to be clear, this game is maybe 5 hours long at the most. It's on Game Pass also. So you should just go pick it up and play it. There's something I really... So I've seen most of the endings. I think I'm circling on the last 2 I need here. The game does something really cool where you don't get quests, you get drives. It's essentially you're trying to figure out what you want to make your life look like on this spaceship. And it's very clearly like how I described it on Pup is much like the Ascent. It really gets cyberpunk, and this one has not really any graphics to speak of. Like you see this ship or like the space station you're on, and you see all the characters and stuff, but you never see yourself. You don't see a whole bunch of other stuff.
You're clicking on icons as you're scrolling the map of the ring on the space station.
What are you playing it on? Are you on Xbox?
Yes, I'm on Xbox.
Okay. It works really well on Xbox. It never really feels like I'm struggling to select something, which is nice.
Every once in a while, I've had that issue, and I was actually going to bring that up. What I discovered was that you can actually turn the camera. So right now, if you imagine the ring and you focus the camera so that you're looking on the inside track of the ring, you can actually turn it so that way you're just looking from edge to edge instead of through the to the middle as it's rotating. Right. That makes it a lot easier to select stuff because there's been a couple times you'll eventually find an apartment that you can fix up. Mm-hmm. And I could never get the icon to select that apartment. I would always have to scroll back and forth, and then eventually get it to go. Mm-hmm. And that's when I figured out that I could turn the apartment, because you can also use the D-pad to tap up and it goes to the next icon. Yeah. Or you tap right and it goes to the one to the right of that. But for some reason, this one housing unit, no matter where that icon is currently selected at, if you tap up, it's going to go right past it. If you tap to the right, it's not going to do anything. Yeah. It's like, what is going on? But outside of that, yes, it controls very nicely.
Yeah. There's a lot that I like about how the game is telling its story. I really like... The game is very clear about when you're reaching an ending. And for all of the endings I've run into so far, you can kind of choose that ending or not. which has been really nice because so far I haven't found an ending that I really want to commit myself to. And I get the impression from something I looked online, it's like if you pick an ending, it will just spit you back at the main menu. You load your save, and it's like right before the ending. If you're playing like I am, and you kind of keep saying no to all these endings, you get a quick credits screen, and then it dumps you back in the game to kind of keep playing. But man, one of the things I love so much about this game is, this has been a criticism we've had on the show for a while, is like, you go and you have all this text and you're talking to someone and you have all this stuff and there's a dialogue choice and there's two options and both options lead to the same answer. And that's always frustrating because it's like, well, why did you give me the answer? Why didn't you just say like, oh, you said thank you, and they continued on. The thing I love about Citizen Sleeper, and I know it's not like the most revolutionary thing, but let's say you meet someone and they're doing something nice for you and seemingly out of nowhere. And you get all this text and then you get, let's say, two options. One is, why are you helping me? And the other one is, thank you. The thing I love about this is both of those lead to entirely different dialogue trees. So like if you say, why are you helping me? They go on and they continue and they say, oh, well, I feel bad for you at X, Y, and Z. But if you say thank you, either not wanting to continue the conversation or maybe it's a character that appreciates a little bit of brevity, that goes into an entire thing where they don't just say, oh, well, I'm helping you because of. They're just like, yeah, don't worry about it. No problem. And then like the conversation continues on a different path. Like, I know that doesn't sound revolutionary, but for a lot of these games, it's pretty important. And I think they do a really great job of it in this one.
Yeah, especially with all the lore, because you are doing a ton of reading. There's no voice acting,
right?
Which is fine.
And the soundtrack is incredible.
That's the other thing that it kind of, I'm going to say it drones on in the background, but I don't mean it drones on in a bad way. Just kind of like it's there, and it kind of puts you in this weird Zen state of,
right,
all right, I'm reading these texts, and I just have this, I'm trying to figure out where to put this number one die that I have that's useless on everything.
Right.
Which also brings up the other thing, too, of on top of the regular physical station that you also have the network portion of the station. If you press Y on the controller,
right,
you flip over to like this node map of the station, and you can try to hack things. But you need, depending on your skills, you either need that specific dice that it's calling out, like a 1, you need a 1 dice to put in there. Or if you have the specific ability leveled up enough, it'll say, or you can use like a 3 instead of a 1, or whatever. Right. And that gets you stuff that you can either turn around and sell, or it opens up this mission with a vending machine, which is really interesting.
Oh, it's so good. That mission went, I'm sure you haven't finished it, but man, that mission went places I had no idea.
Yeah, I just started messing with dealing with the hunter.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's yeah. I can't recommend this game enough. It's really, really cool. It does a lot of stuff really well. There are no time limits. There are no pressures. You don't have every decision tree that's in there. There's no timer counting down where it's like, I hope you read fast enough because you got to like it. Just you're sitting there. You're reading a great cyberpunk story. You're making all these decisions. You're meeting all these great characters. Like everybody's super well written. Your time investment into a character pays off in usually really great ways, where it's either maybe you can get food or energy for really cheap, or maybe you can buy really rare stuff for very cheap, or maybe stuff you can't typically buy. You'll open up avenues for that, or maybe it's a really job that is not risky, because there's always like a risk level associated with every action you can do. Maybe it's a job that isn't risky and pays pretty well. So it's kind of neat to see your investment in characters or your investment in these jobs start to pay off pretty well.
Yeah. And some of them too, depending on how often you do them, some of them can turn into having side benefits.
Yeah.
where instead of just working a job and getting paid, if you do really good, you also ate at this job. So now you don't have to worry about spending money to eat somewhere else because you
Right.
already did during your job.
Yeah, I delivered
So-
noodles and I got money and ate at the
Yep.
same time because my role went really well.
Yeah, or I watched someone's kid and my energy bar filled up by itself because
Right.
I was having fun with the kid. You know,
Oh, man,
that kind of thing.
that kid is so well written for
Dude,
like a
that
kid that age.
story for that family makes me want to swear. It's messed up.
Right. Yeah, it's
a
pretty,
good story, but
Yeah.
God.
It's
I'm
rough.
still
It's
messing with
rough
that
out there
too.
in space. Like I think the thing that I'm really impressed by too is this game isn't. Those two characters have a really sad backstory, but it's never really super graphic about it, and never really kind of like it's never too miserable about it. Like life in space is really rough, and life kind of under the thumb of these corporations is bad. It's a bad time, but you can. The dog agrees. But you can find your own place in this space station by kind of taking advantage of these opportunities that are afforded to you. And I think it's a cool way of telling this story instead of being like wallowing in the misery of it, because some cyberpunk can be a little bit too brutal about that stuff, but this definitely isn't that.
It definitely does have some brutal points too.
Yeah.
There is a thing about a generational ship that kind of goes a little dark, which leads you into speaking with some of these family members.
I don't like the term generational ship when you're talking about sci-fi, because that's never a good thing.
No, it's interesting because I like that there's a lot of stuff in the game that I like that they don't over-explain. A lot of it is like, oh, we've been 5 generations on this ship. We're getting to our destination, and they don't belabor the point. It's like, okay, I can draw my own conclusions from that.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, I'm just working a job in the slums of this area. It's like, yeah, that probably sucks. You don't need to kind of get too deep on it. But yeah, Citizen Sleeper is really great. I'm excited to see the rest of the stuff. I'll probably do another couple quick playthroughs to see there's like 3 character classes. Each one of them are naturally good at one thing or another. Like this one's good at hacking, this one's good at like physical stuff or things like that. On my first character, because I've done so much, I've upgraded their entire skill tree. So like I can do anything in the game now relatively okay, and like most of the time I put my dice in there and then it has a +2 already, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, Citizen Sleeper, you should go play it. It's really very good. It is a genuine surprise this year for a game that looked kind of cool, but turns out to be way better than I was really expecting it to be.
It's surprisingly easy and deep at the same time.
Yes.
So
yeah, go check it out on Game Pass. I think on PC and Switch, I think it's only $15, which seems pretty cheap for how much stuff is in here and like how many thousands of words are in there. Like it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's all I've been playing this week.
Okay. The only other thing I've been playing this week is Stellaris. So on consoles, Season Pass. Go ahead.
I saw your Twitter feed start posting screenshots.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, not again.
Somebody was
not
super
again.
happy.
Yeah, so Season Pass 5 is out now, and that'll encompass DLC for like the next 2 years. I think they're estimating. It was $30, and it'll come out with like three or 4 DLC packs, and then kind of like they have these things where they have like a species pack, where it's essentially like, here's a new picture for a species and like a new voiceover voice and like some new music and stuff like that. So the one that came out with this is Nemesis. Thankfully, it brings the PS5 version up to 60 frames. The Series X got the FPS boost a while ago, and I think now it's kind of natively 60 frames, and it's 60 frames on PS5 as well. also on consoles, load times have been dramatically decreased. I'm getting load times now of 1 second, if not less, where on PS4 it was maybe a minute and a half or 2 minutes. So it is significantly decreased. I'm not going to get too in the weeds about Stellaris, because a lot of it is like, oh, now you can manage your population differently, and sector automation is better. You don't want to hear about that.
Well, shows what you know. I am extremely disinterested in that.
That's right. There's one big improvement that I like, which is they've sort of changed how first contact works. It's essentially when you run into another Empire's ship for the first time, they're like, ooh, that's a new sort of person. Like, we haven't seen ships like this before. And before in the game, it would give you essentially a research job, and you'd research it, and then they'd say, hi, it's us, these guys, what's going on? And it wasn't really that interesting. So they've completely redone it at this point, and now you get a multi-stage research job where you're sending an envoy to their empire to start figuring out each other's languages and like social customs and stuff like that. And because of I'm playing an evil playthrough right now because of something I'll get to in a minute, and it's a lot of like, oh, well, we had a lot of good conversations, we're figuring each other out, and we kind of had a setback, and we maybe offended them a little bit, but, you know, the envoy's still there, and they're still doing good work. And a lot of the time, you only get one option, which is like, just keep at it. But because I'm playing an evil empire right now, I have the option of like, just keep at it, or one of them is like, hey, steal one of them, we're going to dissect them. And I'm like, what? That's not... I don't think I'm going to do that one right now.
No. You have to. You
should.
I will for a future
American
playthrough.
way.
That's right. I will for a future playthrough. But that's not the playthrough I'm going through right now. I'll have a more evil one where I will probably dissect as many
remember to
people as I
meet
can.
all new first contacts with your torpedo doors open.
That's right. So it's kind of
evil is apparently what Boston's playing.
Yeah. It's kind of neat, though, because once you do that multi-stage process and you do meet them for the first time, they now have a bunch of different options that when you greet them for the first time, it kind of sets the stage for how you're going to deal with them long-term. So you kind of have the friendly option of like, boy, I hope we work together for galactic unity. And you kind of have the middle one where it's like, I hope you don't get in my way or else. And the very evil one, which is essentially like, I'm going to kill you. And it's like, okay, cool. Good to put it all on the table. But the playthrough that I'm doing right now is kind of the focal point of the Nemesis DLC, which is the game has something called an end game crisis in it. That's kind of what it says on the tin, which is it's a crisis that happens in the end of the game. So once you've hit like 200 or 300 years have passed, some big galaxy-wide negative event will happen. Like there's enemies pouring out of these deactivated gates all across the solar system, or a ravenous horde is sweeping across the system, or something like that. Those are usually pretty good, and if you're not prepared for them, can potentially wipe you out pretty quickly. But the interesting part about Nemesis is you can be the end game crisis, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. And essentially, once you get a little bit into the game, and once you've invested enough, essentially like Empire traits, I won't get into the system, but you can kind of pick higher level traits that you kind of want to guide your Empire towards. One of them is just become the end game crisis. And once you pick that, you have a brand new menu option that shows up, which is basically like, you need to just be a bad guy, and the more bad things you do, the faster you work towards becoming the end game Crisis. And once you hit milestones, you have like a research job, and it's kind of fun because I'm building my attack spaceships like normal, and every time you hit one of these milestones, it essentially gives you a version of your ship that's way cheaper to build and way meaner. Like, it's faster, it has more hull integrity, it does way more damage, and it attacks faster. So you're very much like, all right, you're gonna kind of become the swarm here, and the the step I'm on right now is like, you need to do a whole lot of evil stuff, because once you do, you're going to be able to build a Star Eater. And it's essentially, the line that's in there is like...
Dude, you are talking up this game enough that I want to play that.
it's so good. And the corporate speak for how evil you are ramps up the further you get down this path. So at the beginning, they're like, maybe we should kind of like look into being a little bit of a bad guy. And by the time they introduce the like Star Eater ship to you, which I unfortunately haven't built yet, they're very much like, look, in the interest of doing this, some stars may get eaten, and some solar systems might get compromised. And by that, we mean blown up. But it's well worth it on our path to controlling the universe.
But if you look at our ROA here...
Yeah, our ROI is great for eating stars.
Like, as long as you take out the Republic, then you can stop that pesky
Yeah, exactly.
resistance.
As long as those pesky rebels can get squashed, what's the cost?
Do you get to create a character that I will just call the Herald, that you get to send to solar systems to announce you're coming to that solar system?
I'm not sure. That would be really great, but I'm really excited to kind of build the because the Star Eater ship isn't the last step. So the last step is an achievement. Of course not.
You have to have a backup in case they blow up the first one.
Well, the last step achievement is called Push the Big Red Button. And essentially, the big red button destroys the universe. So, like, that's the end goal, is, like, you being an anime bad guy, where it's like, I got slighted in high school, so I'm going to destroy the universe. That's what I'm really pushing towards, and I'm really looking forward to ending the playthrough myself by winning, I guess? I don't know. Man, I love Stellaris.
One more DLC away from challenging God.
Yeah, man. Yeah, maybe that'll be Season Pass 6. But yeah, I love Stellaris a lot. I have it kind of tuned to how I like to play it. And it's I of course recommend everybody play it on Iron Man. Because that's kind of I think that's the most fun. That's the only way you get achievements and trophies too. But Iron Man isn't really as scary as it is in most games, because you can kind of... Iron Man isn't a difficulty, it's just a modifier. You can still make a game that's really easy and still have it on Iron Man. It's just, you can't load an old save, which is fine. But yeah, Stellaris is really great. I'm still really happy that they're supporting it on console. Console still works really well, even with the gameplay improvements they've made. They're still finding creative ways of making the UI work on a controller, which is kind of impressive for a game that's so... On PC, it's so reliant on using your keyboard and mouse. And Stellaris is still on Game Pass, if anyone wants to try it. Like, it really worked very well on a controller. And if you haven't played it before, this is my first real 4X game. The tutorial is really, really good, because it kind of walks you through, here's what the screen is, here's what you do in here, here's how it manages and influences your empire. I think Stellaris is great. I think everybody should give it a shot and like try and play it for like 10 or so hours and kind of really give it a good college try. And your first playthrough isn't going to last probably that long, because it never does. But, you know, future playthroughs go pretty well. And all the DLC they've put out, like the Galactic Senate DLC is really great, and kind of maneuvering and messing with the politics on a galactic scale is great. There's an espionage one that's really good where you're kind of spying on other kingdoms. There's stuff that's really, really great in there. But you don't have to buy any of that DLC. I think the core game that's there, that's on Game Pass, or it's usually on sale on consoles, that is really, really good by itself. So you don't have to like buy this thing and buy $100 worth of DLC on top of it just to play it. Like you don't have to do any of that. Stellaris is great. I'm happy to be back in it. I haven't played for months, but usually a new piece of DLC will drop, and I'm like, oh yeah, I play a game or two with Stellaris. Yeah, why not?
Now, 50 hours later, we're all in trouble.
That's right. The true 4X way. All right, but that's all I've been playing this week. Let's take a break.
Yep.
Ahem.
Don't make the joke. I know you want to make the joke because I made the noises.
Merman.
There you go. I knew you couldn't help it.
Okay. I'm ready for the next segment if you guys are.
Yep. Just had to shut my windows because my neighbor decided to mow their lawn.
Yeah, mine hasn't yet, but you know, the day's still young. It's only 3:30.
6:28 here, sir.
Yeah. Sorry, it's only 3:28. My bad.
Oh.
All right, let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Let's talk releases for the week of May 9th, 2022. Ayuden Chronicle, however you pronounce that, Rising comes out on Xbox One, Series consoles, PC, PS4, PS5, and Switch. There's a little bit of history behind this. You want to think of before I talk about this, you want to think about Bloodstained as kind of your thing here. So this was the Kickstarter that was very popular from the Suikoden team. They're like, hey, we want to make a new one of those, 108 stars and all that. Doesn't that sound good? Got kickstarted like immediately. This isn't that. One of their stretch goals was to make like an intro prologue game to that turn-based RPG. So like Bloodstained had its 8-bit side-scrolling thing. This is very much what this is. It's a 2D side-scrolling action RPG. Game Pass day and date. Looks kind of cool. Has a really neat art style, but it's not Suikoden. So don't fire this up and be like, oh god, what have they done? This isn't what I kickstart. It's not that. It's like a prologue kind of playable thing.
By the way, it looks really cool.
It does. It looks really fun. Like I already have this preloaded. I think this is seems like a kind of a neat, fun little thing. I'm excited to, and I'm curious to see what is going on with this series overall. And I'm kind of curious about. I was probably gonna play the turn-based RPG anyway because it has such a prestige behind it. But this is kind of a cool little intro thing they got going on. Salt and Sacrifice comes out on PS4 and PS5. I think this has been on Xbox and PC for quite a while at this point. This is that kind of 2D side-scrolling Dark Souls-esque thing. Finally coming to PlayStation. Also finally coming to PlayStation, Unpacking comes out on PS4 and PS5. If you haven't played this, you should. It's very good. I think it ended up in all 3 of our top 10s last year.
Yep.
It's legitimately very good. It's like 3 hours long, so you probably have time to fit it in. It's great. I love it. Evil Dead the Game comes out PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series console, Switch, and PC. If you had somehow forgotten about this game like I had, this is the asymmetrical 4v1 Evil Dead game, multiplayer game. It sure looks like a thing. I'm not 100%. I don't know, man. I feel like if you're not Dead by Daylight, you're gonna have a rough time. So I think
pretty sure this is also by the same team that made the Friday the 13th games.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I feel like after the Friday the 13th licensing debacle, another licensing asymmetrical game is maybe not the thing you want to hop right into, but okay. I think the only thing that I hope out of this one is, from a gameplay standpoint, it looks fine. Looks like it's totally competent. You have kind of your four heroes and then the demon. That's, you're kind of controlling multiple things on the other side. It looks like it's kind of capturing a lot of the stuff that makes Evil Dead great. I guess if you don't like Evil Dead, don't play this, because it seems like it's leaning into that very heavily.
I've never seen any of the original Evil Deads. I've seen the remake.
Let me head on over to the
say,
Critical Misses sheet.
They are fun popcorn movies.
Yeah, they're fun, like, horror action movies. They're good. But if you don't like them or if you've never seen them, it might be a little bit weird to hop into those. So we'll see how that fares. I feel like this market is getting oversaturated at this point, so I'm curious to see if this even has an opportunity to kind of carve out any sort of market.
No, is the answer.
Probably not. A market that is definitely not oversaturated is an FMV game. The Centennial Case, a Shijima story, comes out PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC. Square Enix is publishing this. This is the game they've been pushing for a little bit. I don't remember what studio is developing it. It's not a Square studio yet. But this is the mystery FMV game they've been pushing, where you're kind of solving a mystery back in the early 1920s and modern day at the same time. It looks really cool. It looks really, really well done. An FMV thing is way up my alley. Thank you to Wales Interactive for awakening an FMV fanatic in me. And this looks really great. I'm really excited to see what the reviews are for this, because I think this looks really neat. And the budget for this looks very high, which we, to say the least, we usually don't get in FMV game. So
looks like the developer is Hand.
Yes,
but it's
Hand.
Done up as an acronym.
Yeah, I don't recognize what Hand has done before, other than being in Elden Ring and being creepy. But we'll see if it's any good. Let's move on to news stories here. EVE Online is getting married to Excel. This quote, "It's not April Fool's. This is real." EVE Online has announced an official partnership with Microsoft Excel in a way that's... I don't think I fully understood it until I watched the clip from the live stream. But they're going to have essentially a connection between EVE Online itself and Excel that you have open. So it's going to be a direct data feed between the two products, instead of you having to have like a data scientist in your EVE guild to manage all of these spreadsheets,
writing up formulas and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just going to be a direct import-export function.
Yeah,
basically.
It's incredible, because like the interface they showed was just like, here's all the variable types, pick one, and here's all the options, and here's all your data. Like it's really cool, and it's really funny watching the live stream, because they put up like EVE Online, a heart symbol, and Excel, and everyone in the crowd is like, that's funny. And then they like show the interface, and everybody goes nuts. Like the entire, it's just like, yay, let's go. It's like, okay, that's, I knew you guys would be excited about that, but that's way more than I was really anticipating. So, feel good news story of the year was 2022. EVE Online and Excel are finally tying the knot for real. In a story that is probably one of my favorite ones this year. Video Game Hall of Fame 2022 inductees announced. I feel like, I don't know if we talked about them from 2021. I don't remember. But I always like talking about the ones that get into the Hall of Fame every year, because it's kind of a fun thing. This year's 4 games, Miss Pac-Man, which...
Why isn't Mr. Pac-Man already in there?
Yeah, but Miss Pac-Man is a better game than Pac-Man.
They're two different games, man.
And
yeah,
Ms. Pac-Man should have been in there before him. Problem solved.
I would agree. Dance Dance Revolution, which seems like a no-brainer. I mean, that's a given. Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, which that's a classic for a reason. And Sid Meier's Civilization, which, yeah, that first game is probably pretty rough to go back to, but it's kind of, you want to see the origins of, like the Dune game and Sid Meier's Civilization kind of starting their own respective genres. Unselected finalists included Assassin's Creed, which feels like that's kind of a, compared to the other ones, maybe not as big or as impactful, but man, that's a pretty big one too.
Yeah, it's got to go in there at some point.
Yeah, it's
wait on a quiet year. Most of these will probably make it in.
Yeah, Candy Crush Saga is the next one, which I feel like people continually undervalue how impactful that game has been, for better or for worse. You could probably largely agree for worse or argue for worse.
Say that in Farmville.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Farmville went in a couple years ago.
I think it did too. Now that I said it out loud.
Yeah, Minesweeper. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Game
NBA
that no one knows how to play.
That's right. NBA Jam, which I'm surprised didn't get in there with some of the other ones. Parappa the Rapper, which is also great. A game that's like impossible to play nowadays. Resident Evil, which I feel like that might have been something that I might have pushed over something else, like maybe Ocarina of Time. Rogue, which, just like Sid Meier's Civilization, is kind of like, yeah, you want to see a genre starting? Here you go. And Words with Friends, which is honestly a game I sort of forgot about until they said it was on their shortlist. But that's another hugely impactful game.
So the main thing I'm taking away from this is it's time for me to get in my car and go to my local museum.
That's right. There you go.
Because it literally takes place in my town, by the way, folks.
Yeah, that's great. I've heard that museum's really good.
Dude, it's ridiculous. It's called the Museum of Play.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's got like a pinball like library there with just like a dark room from like 1960s full of pinball machines, which includes a whole bunch of the classics. Like they've got a fully functioning funhouse with the stupid voice and everything.
That's great. John Carmack's voice, by the by.
And they do tokens.
Yeah, that's the good stuff. None of this credit card business. All right, let's talk about this news story. This one is a trip we're going to take together to get to the end point, which is the least surprising bummer of it here. So let's start at the beginning. Square Enix sells off pretty much all of its Western studios. Is obviously not a big surprise because they were
not a surprise. My biggest question about this is who are they going to blame from now on?
Right. Well, everything else has clearly been doing so well, like our 400 gacha Final Fantasy games, which is honestly where they're making their money. They have agreed to sell, we'll talk about the companies here in a minute, to the Embracer Group for only $300 million, which is like video game industry's biggest steal for a long time. So studios include Crystal Dynamics, which Tomb Raider and a whole bunch of other stuff, Marvel's Avengers, which has been mismanaged, to put it kindly. Eidos Montreal, which did the Deus Ex games and Guardians of the Galaxy, and Square Enix Montreal, which did largely the Go series, like Deus Ex Go, Hitman Go, Lara Croft Go. And it's going to be around 1,100 employees worldwide. That's not the big part, though. Embracer Group also gets all of those IPs. So that's Deus Ex, Tomb Raider, Thief, Legacy of Kain, and a whole bunch of other IPs that they already owned. Which is a lot for $300 million. Like,
isn't anything that Square was doing anything with to begin with. So
well, the problem is Square was funding. The biggest issue has always been Square was funding these games, and with the exception of Marvel's Avengers, was largely staying out of it, and some business with like the relaunch of Deus Ex with like the last minute loot boxes getting in there. But the problem was always they would give these studios plenty of time and plenty of money, and they would sell like hotcakes and get reviewed incredibly well. And Square was like, it didn't meet expectations. It's like, but are you serious? Like, Tomb Raider's reviewing it like 90 on Metacritic, and it sold like 5 million copies, and they're like, yeah, but like, it's just not good enough for us. So this is probably largely a good thing for all of these companies to get out of the really unreasonable expectations that Square Enix had for them and go over to the Embracer Group, which so far has seemed like it's kind of largely disinterested in doing the day-to-day management for any of the studios they own.
Like, Crystal Dynamics' average Metacritic, which is not a good thing generally, is 76.
Yeah.
Like, that's high.
Yeah. For an average on Metacritic, like, that's really high. And don't forget, last year, Embracer Group bought Gearbox for $1.3 billion. So, like, you're getting way more, and based on Gearbox's development and publishing output, you're getting a lot more quality there for a quarter of the price. Like, that seems like kind of a great steal, especially if Embracer's going to maybe kind of respect the output of these companies a little bit more. So Square has said going forward, the company's development function will comprise of its studios in Japan, which is, I don't know how many there are at this point, Square Enix external studios, which we'll get to in a minute, and Square Enix Collective, which we'll get to in a minute. So Square will continue to publish Life is Strange, Just Cause, and Outriders. So that seems to be Square Enix external studios, where it's kind of like we're publishing their games and we're financing them, but we don't own the IP. It seems like they're happy with Life is Strange, which doesn't seem to sell as... It's obviously well regarded and well reviewed, but doesn't seem to sell as much as like Deus Ex or Tomb Raider, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. And Outriders says they're not paying People Can Fly, which is its own problem. Allegedly not paying. Sorry. They're also going to continue to run the Square Enix Collective, which is something I forgot about, which is their indie game publishing wing. They published... I'm trying to think of a nice way to put it, but not super well-selling games like Battalion 1944, which they continually push really hard and nobody's playing at Square. The Turing Test, and the kind of recent hits, the Power Wash Simulator and Circuit Superstars. And there's like a dozen other games they've kind of financed and published there. So this whole thing is kind of really weird because it seems like they've always looked down their nose at these really big IPs they've had that have done really well for them with not crazy investment dollars put behind them. And then they're funding these indie games that don't do well. So it kind of seems not like the smart choice to do, which I guess is kind of on brand for Square Enix here lately in the last couple of years. And here's the eventual goal. Square Enix says they did this because, quote, the transaction enables the launch of new businesses by moving forward with investments in fields including blockchain, AI, and the cloud, end quote. So they're kind of shoving a bunch of studios out to invest $300 million in NFTs, which this week, reporting announced that they have fallen by 92% since September.
Yep.
So if you thought Sony being Sony was bad, Square being Square is going to say, look at this dying, planet-killing industry. We're going to push a lot of money into it. Ubisoft is getting out of the NFT industry. That's how bad it's crashing. And Square's like, maybe, I'm all in, man.
Well, maybe with this crash happening now, Square's like, we can invest that $300 million into something else. like
Mhm.
Final Fantasy VII Part 2, or
I feel like with Square, they're going to be like, we're going to buy low and sell high. And it's like,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
probably not going to happen, guys. So this is a really weird news story that I feel like Embracer Group kind of made out like a bandit
Oh,
on
yeah.
this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't imagine how happy the people involved in the deal were. Where Square's like, yeah, we could probably, like, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but like maybe 300 mil, and they're like, uh-huh, yeah, that sounds sure, yeah, we'll take that off your hands for that much, sure. Especially with Crystal Dynamics working on, I think it's Crystal Dynamics that's working on the brand new Tomb Raider game that's on Unreal Engine 5, which they sort of promoted in this press release too. Embracer Group is like, hey man, we got UE5 Tomb Raider, we got a whole bunch of cool stuff. Like we got some great stuff. Don't worry about us. We're making out. And Square Enix is over there like, whatever. Now that they're done, we can get to our true passion, NFTs. You guys interested in some dumb apes? Because we are. It's like, cool, good, great, good.
It's whatever.
It's baffling. It's genuinely, and this is kind of coming on the heels of Yuji Naka announcing that he kind of finished his lawsuit against Square Enix because they removed him from the project 6 months before it shipped, and he was like, "You probably shouldn't do this because it's not done." And they're like, "Yeah, that's cool. Anyways, get out." And then like kind of put his head on the platter for reviews. It was like, it's Yuji Naka's new game, and it's bad. Here you go. And it's just like, wait, hold on. He very clearly said in his Twitter thread, Square Enix does not care about their games or gamers. It's like, wow.
Yep.
That's, dang. Okay. So
we kind of already knew that, though, really, didn't we?
I mean, over the last couple of years, it's been really tough. If you haven't been Final Fantasy 14 or a new Dragon Quest game, it's kind of been rough. Like Final Fantasy Remake, Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 1, that seemed to have come out pretty well, I think largely because the team making that is very passionate about that being a really good title. But I think a lot of the other stuff you're seeing isn't that great. I know Nimp and I really like dungeon encounters, and we enjoyed Voice of Cards too, but those seem very much like, hey, you guys want like $250,000 for your little game? Sure. What if I could just...
Those definitely seemed like Square was not aware that they were releasing those games.
Right. It's like a one line item in one spreadsheet, and everyone's like, it didn't put us in the red. It's fine. Whatever. Yeah,
Someone
that
put it
ATB
all the
guy
way
is
in
making his little
the
thing.
triple A's, so that
That's
way
right.
they had to scroll all the way over to see it.
That's right. That's right. It's like, it's 3 or 4 spreadsheet tabs down where it's like, I'm not going all the way in there. That's fine. The formula says it's fine. So I don't know. I think the thing that I'm really disappointed in is I'm disappointed that every other company seems to have read the writing on the wall about NFTs, either that your fans hate them, and hate is too kind of a term, or the market is crashing in such a clear and negative way that this is not the time to double down on NFTs. Like I said before, Ubisoft is getting out of them. That's probably your sign to not invest money into them. If there's anything Ubisoft likes, it's free money. So I don't know. It's a real bummer to see them do this, and then on the other side, the poor guy who's making Final Fantasy 16 is just like, it's coming along great. We got a trailer for you guys. We're like wrapping up development. I don't know what else is going on in Square, but Final Fantasy 16 is going great. You should see it soon. I'm like, oh, buddy.
So that was like the one good news that came out of Square this week.
Yeah. So I won't believe that game is done until it's like firing up on my PS5.
Exactly.
But I feel like that dude hasn't really led us astray. He's not like Peter Molyneux, where it's like, it's almost done any time now. And everyone behind him is like, no, shut up. No, dude, for real. It's not, we're not even, haven't even done any check-ins. So, I don't know. We will, chart Square Enix's NFT meltdown as it continues throughout this year. I don't doubt it. Man, I don't know how that's going to show up, but it's going to make me really bummed. But that's all of our news stories. That's our episode for this week. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And visit us at tvgp.tv. Everywhere to find and follow us is on the right-hand side of the page, including a link to the Discord server over at discord.tvgp.tv. Come and hang out and chat with all of us. Everybody there is cool because they're the best community on the internet. If you'd like to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/E1M1.
The ones be numbers.
Talked about all the metric ton of episodes you got at the top of it. And if you want to see where your hard-earned money goes, really transparent about all the costs and the budget breakdown, all that stuff on the page over there. You can check it out. If you can't support us financially, totally understand. Please go tell your friends about the show. Word of mouth is the biggest way to support the show and any other shows you listen to and enjoy. Share on social media. Go follow our YouTube channel. Even if we don't go live with stuff like Pup or Game Club or We Roguelike It, stuff like that, all that stuff goes on the YouTube channel as well. So you can go check out all of that stuff there. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Boy.
Bye.
I just realized I didn't write down any titles this week. Yay.
I
got like 4.
Okay.
That's how many I have.
All right, Nimp, start us off.
I have, dude, you want some bars? DRG has bars for days. First Dwarf is free. And you can be the endgame crisis.
All right, Moon, what do you have?
Underdesigned or overthinking. Na. First Beard is free. Rock and Stone Baby. And Mother Flippin' DRG.
The two I wrote down for my short list are Dude, You Want Some Bars, or the one I really like, which is Underdesigned or Overthinking.
I like that one too, to be honest.
Yeah.
I like Underdesigned or Overthinking.
I'm going to circle it. It's unanimous.
I am ready to go.
Oh my.
For the first time in several podcasts.
Okay, I think I got something.
All right. I just noticed the number 3 I wrote down here from our Critical Misses episode. It's making me giggle. Find out in season 14, episode 1. All right, starting in 3, 2, 1. This is That Video Game Podcast, episode 759 from May 9th, 2022. Underdesigned or Overthinking?
Always option B. Always.
If I put the thing in the thing, how did I get a fish?
All right, thank you very much, everyone, for hanging out with us. Appreciate seeing all of you hanging out in chat, watching and listening. I hope we see you next week. Bye.
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 Underwater Moon.
I don't know.